Minister Adegboyega Oyetola has unveiled bold plans to reposition Nigeria's marine and blue economy as the country's primary revenue source, surpassing crude oil. With a reported 90% revenue growth in 1 year driven by port modernization, digitalisation and infrastructure upgrades, the sector is gaining momentum. Strategic focus areas include fisheries, deep-seabed mining and marine tourism. While the vision promises jobs and economic diversification, experts caution that sustainability, governance, and environmental safeguards must guide the transition to avoid repeating past oil sector pitfalls. We have Temitope Kolade, Associate Director, Oil, Gas, and Power at Andersen Nigeria, joining us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Joanna.
All right. Prospects of the blue economy surpassing oil revenues. What are your thoughts on that and how plausible is it?
Well, I would say that's a very interesting development, and it's not necessarily out of scope, right? But it's not something that would happen in the immediate. I like the optimism of the minister, but we must also agree that that would only happen through sustained policy consistency, through consistent investment, and of course, transparency of the government with respect to what's happening within that sector. And I think that they're taking the baby steps to get to that point already. In terms of the sort of transparency that is now being seen with respect to ports operations. Indeed, with proper strategic execution, we should expect that the revenue from the blue economy will begin to rival what we're getting from oil revenue. But we can't wish away the progress that we made since 1956 in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria and how it's been the mainstay so far. But in the light of helping to diversify the economy, I think that this is the steps by the ministry are the steps in the right direction, and they should be encouraged to do so much more in terms of transparency and governance of what happens in that blue economy.
And, you know, it's been said that we're losing billions from not maximizing the potentials in that economy. For example, freight, it said we're losing $5 to $6 billion annually. So give us a picture of what is on ground now. What are the challenges and the loopholes that are not allowing us to perhaps maximize the potential of the blue economy?
Okay, a couple of them. And let's start from the point that the blue economy is basically the water. And when you travel to countries like Tanzania, specifically Zanzibar, right, what you find is that whatever that country sells that particular island sells is water. And that's the blue economy that we're talking about here. And so is our waterway in the best state as we speak today? Do people want to transport products through those waterways? There are parts of it that require dredging, for instance, and it then means that certain very big ships cannot, they can't basically, they can't get to the harbor. And so for very many times, you find that there is the need for smaller crafts, smaller vehicles, water vehicles to move things, boats to move things from a particular distance, and that could also have implication for security on in the waterways. We know what's happening with respect to even the oil and gas sector and how we've lost so much within that sector, again because of security issues on these waterways over the years. But of course, it appears that sanity is returning into that space. So in terms of dredging, that's very important if you're going to get things right. The security that needs to be provided by the naval agencies and other agencies that help us to watch our water guard, our coastal guards, are also very important to ensure that we get things going within that sector. It's also important to ensure that we have clean water where tourism can actually flourish. Right. So a couple of things that need to be done. And I think at the top of it is proper governance that ensures that there is a clear plan and framework for that maximizing of the blue economy in Nigeria.
And we'll get to that plan or framework. I believe there's a Nigeria Maritime Sovereignty and Blue Economy Acceleration Plan. We'll come to that in just a moment. But let's stay with the potential. How well positioned is Nigeria's blue economy for us to, maximize that potential in terms of our position on the Atlantic, the amount of cargo? I even learned that we outsource. We only manage 20% of that cargo transportation, that we outsource most of it. So give us a picture of where we are losing out on and perhaps specific areas that we can easily transform in the blue economy.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, we must recall the times of closing the land borders, and very many people also attested to the fact that even though the land borders were closed at that time, people continued to bring in things, even though they were not reported through these land borders. And what led to that is the fact that certain ship cannot they cannot come to the harbor point in Nigeria. And what that means is that they go to other countries. You also think about the cost of ensuring that that is done, the legal sort of operations that happen around the waterways and around the coasts, right? So what then happens is that they explore going to Benin Republic, going to some other parts close to Nigeria, and then we start seeing things come through some illegal means into the country. And so that speaks to how much the country is losing in terms of the import duties that should have come through the waterways, right? And the fact that those end up being lost. I talked about tourism, and we know what happened in Lagos last Saturday, Sunday, in terms of just exploring things. And that's what you see in countries where they maximized their blue economy, right? A lot of operations happening on the waterways in terms of the tourism activities within that sector and ensuring that the water is clean enough and people can actually have some very interesting activities, recreational activities around the waterways. What about the fishing? What about sport fishing? And a lot of things that can happen with respect to the fact that people are currently polluting the waters and nobody is really looking out for that. So apparently the country is losing a lot in terms of what we also face with respect to security risk on our waterways. So much to be maximized in terms of reshaping that sector and then seeing that people can operate freely and, of course, in a most transparent way and in a way that is comparable to what we're seeing in other countries that have done better with respect to this.
I mean, the potentials sound limitless, and hopefully we're able to tap into that. The story is not all doom and gloom. Apparently, we're reporting 90% revenue growth, and we'll get into that with you perhaps sometime in the future. It looks like our time is up for this conversation, but there's still so much to talk about. Hopefully we can have you back to dive deeper into that conversation. But thank you very much for your time, Temitope Kolade, Associate Director, Oil, Gas and Power at Andersen Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.